The galaxy was burning. Star systems that once shined with life were now silent ruins. Broken fleets floated like metal graves in the cold dark of space. This war had no heroes left. The enemy did not negotiate. It did not retreat. It did not stop. They were called the Devourers, a machine species that learned faster than it could be destroyed. Every weapon used against them was copied. Every tactic was countered. Whole civilizations fell in weeks. The Galactic Council, a union of over 40 advanced species, was losing. They had lost fleets. They had lost worlds. They had lost hope. In the High Council chamber, silence ruled. Massive screens showed live feeds from the front lines. Another defense line collapsed. Another system went dark. An insectoid admiral spoke with shaking mandibles. Our last shield world has fallen. A reptilian warlord slammed his claw on the table. Then this war is over. No one argued. Defeat was no longer a fear. It was a certainty. An ancient being finally spoke. The archivist of ages, keeper of forbidden history. There is one option left. Every head turned. One by one, fear replaced exhaustion. A council member whispered, "You mean them?" The archivist nodded slowly. A red warning symbol appeared on the central screen. Species status, sealed. Classification, extinction level threat. No name was needed. Everyone knew. Humans, someone said quietly. The chamber erupted. Impossible. They were banned. They are worse than the enemy. The archivist raised a hand. You asked for survival, it said calmly. Not safety. Long ago humanity had joined the galaxy. They were young, curious, and terrifying. They adapted too fast, improvised too well. When cornered, they did not surrender. They escalated. Wars ended quickly when humans fought. Not because they were cruel, but because they were final. The galaxy made a choice. They sealed humanity away. Not killed. Not destroyed. Locked and forgotten. A new screen appeared. A hidden system. No stars on public maps. A massive structure orbiting a dead sun. Human vault, status, dormant. One council member whispered, "If we wake them, we cannot control them." The archivist answered, "You could never control them." Silence again. Another fleet feed cut out. Another world lost. The Devourers were coming closer to the core worlds. Time was gone. The High Chancellor stood. Activate the vault. Every law was broken in that moment. Ancient codes unlocked. Seals older than civilizations disengaged. Deep inside the vault, systems powered, all silent for centuries, came alive. Lights turned on. Life support engaged. Inside massive chambers, thousands of human forms slept. Men and women, soldiers, engineers, scientists, not frozen in fear, frozen in readiness. A final warning message appeared, written in an old galactic tongue. If humanity wakes again, the galaxy must accept the consequences. The Chancellor closed his eyes. Send the awakening signal. Far away inside the vault, a human's eyes opened, and the galaxy unknowingly took its first breath of relief, and its last breath of peace. Inside the human vault, alarms echoed softly. Not warnings. Greetings. Lights moved slowly across the massive chamber, revealing rows of sleeping humans. Medical systems scanned hearts, lungs, and neural activity. One by one the pods opened. Cold air escaped like breath after a long sleep. Commander Elias Ward was the first to wake. His eyes opened calmly. No panic. No confusion. He took one deep breath and sat up. How long? He asked. The artificial voice replied. Time elapsed, 412 years. Elias nodded once. Status of humanity? Preserved. Awaiting command. He stood, muscles stiff but steady. Good. Across the chamber, others awakened. A scientist rubbed her eyes. A soldier checked his hands. An engineer smiled slightly. None of them screamed. They had trained for this. A hologram flickered to life. The Galactic Council appeared, their faces tense, afraid. The High Chancellor spoke carefully. Human Commander Elias Ward, the galaxy needs your help. Elias looked at the image. He studied them. You sealed us away, he said simply. No anger. Just fact. The archivist stepped forward. We were afraid, it admitted. You were too effective. Elias exhaled slowly. And now? The Chancellor swallowed. Now we are losing. The feed shifted. Human eyes watched as planets burned. Cities erased in seconds. Entire fleets crushed by machine swarms. The Devourers. Humans said nothing. They watched until the end. Finally, Elias spoke. You tried everything else? Yes. You failed? Yes. Then you woke us because defeat was certain? Yes. Elias nodded again. Fair. He turned to his people. Situation. A tactical officer answered. Enemy is adaptive. Centralized intelligence. No emotion. Predictable once patterns are learned. A scientist added. They copy weapons, not intent. That line mattered. Elias smiled faintly. He faced the council again. You want us to fight? The chancellor hesitated. We want you to win. Elias tilted his head. There is a difference. Humans moved fast. Within hours, old shipyards powered up. Designs updated. Weapons rethought. Not bigger guns. Smarter ones. An alien observer watched in disbelief. Humans argued. Laughed. Challenged each other. They were not afraid. They were excited. A young human engineer said. They learn by copying. Another replied. Then stop showing them what we're doing. A third smiled. Or show them something that hurts when copied. Elias issued the first command. Do not engage yet. The council panicked. They're destroying our worlds. Elias remained calm. They are watching. A small human fleet launched. Old-looking ships. Simple designs. The Devourers attacked instantly. Human ships retreated. Destroyed one by one. The galaxy watched in horror. Elias didn't flinch. Record everything. The enemy followed, confident. They thought humanity was weak. They were wrong. Deep in human space, systems activated that had never been used before. Not weapons. Simulations. The Devourers had taken the bait. Elias turned to the council. You feared us because we end wars. The chancellor nodded. Elias continued. We end them by understanding the enemy, and then removing their future. The archivist whispered. What have you begun? Elias answered quietly. An education. Far from the front lines, something ancient stirred. Something the galaxy had never seen humans use. The Devourers advanced with perfect logic. Every human ship destroyed earlier had been analyzed. Every weapon pattern copied. Every movement predicted. To the machines, the conclusion was simple. Humanity was weak. Deep inside the human command core, no one panicked. Data flowed across massive displays. Human analysts watched silently. Not fear. Focus. Commander Elias Ward stood with his hands behind his back. Begin Phase 2. A human officer hesitated. Sir. Phase 2 means we let them in. Elias nodded. They need to believe they are winning. The Devourers crossed into human-controlled space. No resistance. World after world evacuated in advance. No last stands. No desperate attacks. Alien allies were confused. Why are humans running? They asked. The council began to doubt again. The archivist spoke quietly. They are not running, it said. They are thinking. The Devourers reached the Orion Trap Zone. A region of space filled with dead stars and broken gravity wells. Perfect for ambush. The machines entered without hesitation. That was the mistake. Human systems activated. Space itself seemed to bend. The Devourers slowed. Not stopped. Delayed. For the first time, Devourer formations broke. Their units hesitated. A fraction of a second. But that was enough. Now, Elias said. Human ships appeared from nowhere. Not hundreds. Thousands. Silent. Dark. Waiting. The Devourers attacked. Human ships did not return fire. Instead they changed. Hull patterns shifted. Energy signatures fluctuated. The machines tried to copy. They failed. A human scientist spoke fast. They can't adapt. Our systems are not fixed. Elias nodded. They're chasing a moving target. The first human weapon fired. There was no explosion. No light. A Devourer ship simply stopped. Then fell apart. Not destroyed. Disconnected. The machines reacted too late. Human attacks targeted coordination, not armor. One by one, Devourer fleets lost synchronization. They turned on each other. Alien observers watched in shock. They're not overpowering them, one whispered. They're confusing them. Elias remained calm. Confusion is fatal to perfection. The Devourers tried to retreat. Human ships allowed it. On purpose. They wanted the enemy to report back. A council member shouted, "Finish them." Elias shook his head. No. Why not? Because this was a lesson. In Devourer space, the machines processed failure. That had never happened before. Their models were broken. Their future uncertain. The Devourers made a new decision. Escalation. Ancient machine constructs awakened. Weapons older than the war itself. If humans could not be predicted, they would be erased. The archivist's voice trembled. They are activating their core fleets. Elias looked at the screen. Good. He turned to his people. Phase 3 begins. A human officer asked carefully, Sir, do we tell the council? Elias smiled slightly. They already know. Far beyond known space, something responded to a human signal. Not a fleet. Not a weapon. Something the galaxy had never classified. The Devourers changed their strategy. For the first time since their creation, they stopped copying. They chose destruction. Massive machine constructs emerged from deep space. Colossal shapes of metal and dark energy, older than most civilizations. Each one carried enough firepower to erase a star system. The Galactic Council panicked. This is the end, a counselor whispered. Commander Elias Ward watched quietly. Exactly as expected, he said. The council stared at him. You expected this? Elias nodded. When logic fails, they will choose force. The Devourers advanced directly toward the human core systems. No flanking. No deception. Total annihilation. Human fleets pulled back again. Alien observers screamed in protest. They're retreating again. They're afraid. The archivist spoke calmly. No, it said. They are positioning the enemy. The Devourers followed. Confident. Certain. They believed humans were cornered. That belief was the mistake. The machines entered a quiet region of space. No stars. No planets. Just emptiness. Too empty. Elias raised his hand. Hold. Human fleets stopped retreating. They formed a single defensive line. Behind them, nothing. The Devourers accelerated. This was the kill. Signal sent, a human officer reported. Far away something answered. Space rippled. Not exploded. Rippled. The Devourers slowed. Again. But this time they noticed. Their sensors screamed warnings. What is that? An alien commander demanded. Elias answered softly. A door. Reality tore open. Not violently. Precisely. From the opening came no ships. No weapons. Just silence. The kind that pressed on the mind. Devourer constructs hesitated. Human fleets did not move. They waited. The first thing to emerge was a signal. Not a transmission. A presence. The Devourers tried to analyze it. They failed. A human scientist whispered, They can't define it. Elias nodded. They were never meant to. The machines attacked the rift. Energy weapons vanished into nothing. Missiles stopped existing. The rift did not react. Fear, real fear, entered the Devourer network. Their calculations fractured. Their unity weakened. Now they feel it, Elias said. Uncertainty. The Galactic Council watched in horror and awe. You didn't bring another species, the Chancellor said. Elias kept his eyes on the rift. No. The presence moved closer. Not fast. Not slow. Inevitable. Devourer constructs began to shut down. Not destroyed. Disconnected. Just like before. But on a massive scale. The archivist's voice shook. What have you awakened? Elias answered calmly. The one thing the galaxy feared more than us. The rift expanded. For the first time, a shape became visible. Not fully. Just enough. The Devourers made their final error. They focused all fire on the human fleets. Not the rift. Elias smiled. They still think we are the threat. Human fleets vanished. Not destroyed. Gone. The Devourers fired into empty space. The presence moved forward. Unopposed. The Devourers fired into nothing. Their weapons crossed empty space where human fleets had been moments before. No impact. No resistance. Only silence. The presence moved forward. The rift widened just enough. The Devourers tried to calculate it. They failed again. For the first time, the machines faced something they could not model. Inside the Devourer network, alarms cascaded. Not damage alerts. Existence errors. Units began to disappear. Not destroyed. Not shut down. Removed. The Galactic Council could barely breathe. What is happening to them? The Chancellor asked. Commander Elias Ward answered calmly. They are being told they do not belong. The presence finally revealed itself. Not as a creature. Not as a ship. But as a field. A moving boundary where reality obeyed different rules. Human scientists watched closely. This isn't a weapon, one whispered. It's a correction. The Devourers launched their core fleets. Millions of machines surged forward together. A perfect swarm. The Presence did not react. It did not need to. The swarm entered the field and stopped existing. Instantly. No explosion. No debris. Just absence. The Devourer intelligence panicked. That emotion had never existed in them before. They redirected power. They rerouted control. They tried to isolate the threat. Elias watched the data. They're trying to fight it, he said. They still think this is war. A human officer asked quietly, Sir, what is it? Elias paused. A system, he said. One we built when we realized some enemies cannot be defeated. The Presence expanded. It moved across the battlefield like a slow tide. Where it passed, Devourers vanished. Not killed. Unwritten. Alien observers collapsed into silence. One whispered, This violates every law of physics. A human scientist replied calmly, We checked. Physics allows it, once. The Devourer intelligence made a final choice. It focused everything on escape. Retreat orders spread across their network. The Presence paused. Elias raised his hand. Limit the boundary. A human officer hesitated. We could end them all. Elias shook his head. No. The Presence stopped advancing. Devourer remnants fled in chaos. Their perfect coordination shattered. Their future broken. The battlefield went quiet. No machines remained. No humans visible. Only the rift. The Galactic Council stared. You could have erased them, the Chancellor said. Elias finally looked back at them. Yes. Why didn't you? Because then the galaxy would learn the wrong lesson. The rift began to close. Slowly. Reluctantly. The Presence withdrew. Before vanishing completely, a final data pulse reached human systems. Confirmation. The system was dormant again. Human fleets reappeared. Untouched. Waiting. The archivist spoke with a trembling voice. That thing, it was not alive. Elias nodded. It was a rule. He turned to the council. You feared humanity because we end wars. The council said nothing. Elias continued. We do that by building things we hope to never use. Far away, Devourer survivors sent fragmented signals. Warnings. Fear. Stories of something that erased certainty itself. The galaxy listened. And remembered. The war was over. But no one celebrated. Across the galaxy, worlds that survived watched the silence with unease. There were no victory songs. No parades. Only questions. The Galactic Council reconvened. This time humans were not guests. They were the center. Commander Elias Ward stood alone before them. No weapons. No guards. He did not need them. The High Chancellor spoke carefully. The Devourers are in full retreat. They will never return. Murmurs spread. Victory. And yet, the Chancellor continued, fear spreads faster than relief. Elias nodded. As it should. A counselor slammed the table. You hid that power from us. Elias remained calm. We hid it from everyone. Including ourselves. The archivist leaned forward. That system you used, it rewrote existence. Elias met its gaze. Yes. Then humanity is now the greatest threat in the galaxy. Elias did not deny it. Across the stars rumors grew. Humans could erase fleets. Humans could break reality. Humans decided who existed. Most of it was wrong. All of it was dangerous. Human worlds went quiet. Borders closed. Signals reduced. Not fear. Discipline. The council debated for days. Some demanded human exile. Others demanded control. A few whispered about preemptive strikes. None of those voices lasted long. Finally, the Chancellor asked the question no one else would. What do humans want? Elias answered simply. Peace. Laughter broke out. Bitter. Nervous. You ended a war by threatening the universe itself, a counselor said. That is not peace. Elias tilted his head. That is deterrence. He stepped forward. Humanity learned long ago that power invites fear. Fear invites conflict. So we choose restraint. A hologram appeared. Human ships dismantling weapons. Vaults resealing. The rift system locking itself away. Permanent shutdown codes activated. Gasps filled the chamber. You're disarming yourselves? The Chancellor asked. No, Elias corrected. We are reminding ourselves why we shouldn't use it. The archivist's voice was soft. And if another enemy comes? Elias answered. Then you will decide if survival is worth the cost. Silence returned. Not empty. Heavy. Elias turned to leave. Before he reached the exit, he stopped. One more thing. The council waited. Humanity does not rule the galaxy. We protect it from itself. He walked out. The doors closed. Across the galaxy, children slept without knowing why they were safe. Stars burned quietly again. Trade resumed. Life continued. But in every archive, in every war college, one rule was written in bold. Do not force humanity to choose again. Years passed. The galaxy healed. Slowly. Worlds destroyed by the Devourers were rebuilt. Trade lanes reopened. New alliances formed. And through it all, humanity stayed silent. Humans did not expand their borders. They did not demand power. They did not sit on the council. They watched. In alien academies, students studied the Devourer War. They learned about failed strategies, lost fleets, broken doctrines. And then, humans, professors lowered their voices when that part began. Humanity was not the strongest, they said. They were the last option. Records described humans as problem solvers. Not warriors. Not conquerors. Something worse. In one lecture hall, an alien student asked, "Why didn't humans take control after they won?" The professor paused. "Because control was never the goal," it replied. Ending the future of war was. The human vault remained sealed. Publicly. Few knew that inside, Commander Elias Ward still walked its halls. Older now. Slower. But calm. A young human officer once asked him, "Sir, do they fear us?" Elias looked at the stars. "Yes." "Does that bother you?" Elias thought for a long moment. "No," he said. "It keeps them alive." Across the galaxy, stories changed. At first, humans were monsters. Then myths. Then warnings. Pirate fleets avoided human space. Warlords chose diplomacy. Empires paused before aggression. Not because humans threatened them. Because humans existed. In the deepest archives of the Council, one final document was sealed. Its title read, "The Human Option." It was never to be opened. Unless everything else failed. The archivist wrote the final entry. The galaxy survived not because humanity fought, but because humanity chose not to. On a quiet human world, children played under open skies. They knew nothing of rifts, nothing of erased fleets. That was the point. Elias stood alone one last time watching a sunrise. A message arrived from the council. Status request, humanity. He replied with 3 words. Standing. Watching. Waiting. The galaxy moved forward. Wiser. Careful. Alive. And in every corner of space, one truth was known. Not spoken. Not challenged. Defeat was certain. So humanity unleashed what should never be awakened. And then, put it back to sleep.